Hello everyone, Dominic here, and today we're going to be talking about communication in the relationships. So I went around asking people what they need help with in relationships, and most people that came back to me, they came back with this one answer saying that they have trouble communicating or their partner communicating to them. And for me to kind of get into this and explain it to you, to get you to understand it, I'm going to split this into three parts, which, as I said, I had this in my previous video when I was talking about the who concept. This is understanding who you are, understanding who your partner is, and understanding who you are together, how you guys can better communicate to one another. So the first one is who I am. So whenever it comes to communication, right, it's about you, your partner, and you guys together. So the first part is yourself, is understanding yourself, understanding your communication style, how you communicate. So when it comes to relationships, you can talk, like have a talk with your partner, but your partner might have trouble understanding you, because communication is not just about talking and having a conversation about something. It's about communicating yourself, who you are, across to your partner. That's what it's all about. If you understand that's what communication is about, then you can kind of get into the mindset of think to yourself, what's the best way that I can communicate myself to my partner? How can I best communicate myself to my partner? So taking things back to who you are, it's about understanding what's most important to you. What are you trying to get across to your partner? Damn, my hair. Oh my god. So that's what's important, right? So what you gotta think of is like, first thing you gotta think of, like, what do I need to do to get this, what I'm trying to get to my partner? You have to think, like, what's the best way that I can say what I need, how I can express my feelings or the way I feel, my emotions to my partner in a way that they can completely understand it without having a doubt, without kind of getting it wrong, because that's what's most important when it involves communication. It's about communicating very clearly, like clearly to your partner, like, hey, this is the thing I'm trying to get to across to you. This is what I'm talking about. To kind of get into their shoes and kind of think to yourself, like, what's the best way possible? Like, what's the one thing I can just like say to them and like have them not misunderstand it, to completely understand where you're coming from. So that's the first part, the who I am part. So then secondly, we get to the who you are part. This is understanding your partner, right? So not everybody is good at communication. Not everybody is forthcoming when they're communicating about something. But and there's nothing you can really do about that into like making or like forcing somebody to talk to you, because people are gonna come to you and talk to you in their own time, in their own, like, it takes time for them. Some of them it takes like a little bit of time, sometimes like a lot of time for them to open up to you. So it's not something you can just force somebody to come out and like, hey. So you gotta understand, first thing, that everybody is not, might not be as like you, might not be so forthcoming with how they feel, or like their communication skills might not be the same as yours, that they actually have trouble talking, they actually have trouble opening themselves up to you. Maybe they need time, maybe not. So that's the thing. It's about understanding that other people are not the same. They're not the same as you. They have trouble talking, and that's okay. But what you can do, which is going to be talking about the third part, which is like, how are we going to communicate to one another? This is, so from understanding how you communicate and understanding that somebody else communicates differently, you got to think to yourself, like, what's the best way? Like, what can I do to make them communicate with me on my terms, which I understand, and how can I communicate on their terms, which they understand? So the best way to do that is to openly communicate yourself, to be like, hey, okay, so here's the thing, I want to talk about this, like, this is how I feel, this is where I'm coming from. So the best thing you can do whenever it comes to communicating for the both of you is to bring yourself out more, to actually like openly express how you feel, to only to say your side the best way possible, because your side is the most important part, because that's what you can, that's what you know. If you understand yourself and you understand your feelings or your emotions or what you want to get across, then you understand yourself very well. That's your priority. That's your number one priority, to understand yourself very well and to clearly express it to the other person, that they will understand it. So the first part is like, you have to openly express yourself, to be like saying, hey, this is where I'm coming from, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm bringing to the table. So I want you to also bring your side to the table and actually tell me how you feel, to openly ask your partner to be like, hey, okay, so this is what's going on with me, this is where I'm at, and I also want you to come back to me and actually tell me how you feel. And not everyone is always going to be forthcoming, and some people are going to have a hard time, as I said, telling you their side of the story and how they feel, which is all right. But in a situation where there's really need to be communicating and people needing to communicate about something, it's like really important that the open communication is there. And so the big takeaway and the recap of this whole concept is, first, it's about yourself. It's about you expressing yourself to like the point where you like know and can feel that you have done enough in like everything possible to express yourself fully, because it is something you're gonna have to learn. You're gonna learn how to communicate. You're gonna learn to be open. It's a must that you learn all these things, because they are really important when it comes to relationship. So first of all, you must learn. You must be open. You must want to express yourself to your partner, because it's the only way. It's the only way that communication can happen between you guys. And the second part is putting yourself in your partner's shoes. This is really important. Many people miss this, and for me, for the most part, I miss this myself. Like, because for me, I'm a very communicative person. Like, I love expressing myself. So whenever I'm talking to my partner, I want the same. I want them to be so open with me, to be open to me about everything. But I forget that not many people are like me. Not many people use as much words. Not many people as much like are as passionate about expressing themselves as much as I am. And here's the funny part is that people are actually, they communicate back to me, but in their own ways. And I fail to understand, like every single time. I'll be like, why aren't they communicating in the way I want them to? So here's the thing. Usually they are communicating in the best way that they know, not how you know it's possible, but the best way they know it's possible, to their understanding. They have their understanding to how they can fully open themselves, which you might not get, which you might not understand, which is fine. And for the most part, when I have trouble doing this, I usually ask a friend to be like, hey, so am I missing something? Because usually I am missing so much, which I'm learning now. Like, I've done this like couple of times, like 3 times, which is a new record for me, because I usually like take 2 mistakes that happen to kind of, but it's something that I picked up, and I'm really aware of. Is like, to be aware of that other people are usually communicating themselves, but it might not be in the way that you want them to. It might be in their own way that you might not be getting. But if you ask someone else and ask your friends like, hey, am I missing something? They usually tell you like, hey, okay, yeah, you are missing something. So that's something you can do to understand your partner, is you can ask a friend about like, what's happening? What am I missing? Because usually when you're stuck in your own head and expecting your partner to communicate to you in a specific way, you miss a lot. You miss a lot, because you're so consumed in saying, communicate with me, communicate with me. And if you have an idea, or like the idea that says that other people have trouble communicating with you, especially if you have that, then like, if you have that, then you're gonna have so much trouble, because what you're gonna be looking, and what you're gonna be, the idea that you're gonna give everyone is this, like the same. It's like, everyone has trouble communicating with me. So for this, you must also look to yourself. Maybe you are the problem. Maybe you are the one having trouble communicating, or like listening. Basically, it also takes listening. You might be the problem when it comes to listening to your partner and how they communicate, to put yourselves in their shoes and their communication skill. So that's something to look out for. And for the third part, which is togetherness, which is like you being upfront about your side. That's the best you can do. You can be upfront about your side, like, hey, this is what's happening, this is what I want to talk about. Like, are you like, please meet me halfway. It's all about meeting you halfway. They can have a different communicative skills. Cool. That's great. But it's all about meeting each other in the middle. It's all about coming together and be like, hey, here's the thing. Communication is important. You've got to be on the same page about the importance of communicating in a relationship. That's the best you can do. So if you have a partner who's willing and who wants to communicate with you, that's the best case scenario. But if you have a partner who is kind of having trouble, but like who's not upfront and upcoming like about communicating to you and what they want, then that's like a really big problem, and something that you might actually want to look into, and like to see if the relationship is worth it for you. Because if you don't have communication, then there's no relationship. Like there's nothing to work with. And if you have somebody that you can't, who's not willing to come and talk to you, who's all about themselves and don't even care about communicating to you, and fail to understand the importance of communication, then it's like, for me, in that situation, the relationship itself is not worth it. It's not worth it. And that's something you should be like, look out for, because not everyone's gonna be want to communicate as much as you. Not everyone's gonna be forthcoming, but if somebody is putting in the effort to communicate, if somebody is willing to try to communicate with you, and if somebody is like doing everything in their power to make sure that they communicate themselves, and there's a communication, then it's like, that person is worth it to be with. But somebody who isn't, and have trouble, like who doesn't even try, like to meet you in the middle, then for me, in that situation, that whole relationship is not worth it. So that's the thing when it comes to communication. I think I've said enough. I've said everything that I wanted to say. So awesome. So thank you for watching the video, and if you like what I was talking about, and if this really helped you, please do like and comment. And obviously, if you want, I'm asking people questions, so this is something that I actually want from my viewers and everybody who's watching this, is to actually in the comments actually write a question like about what problems you're having in your relationships. Then if I see there's like a lot of like a main topic, just like with the communication that I did now, then obviously I'll do a video on it.